Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry, Albert. I'm going to be giving a informative brief today about operational environmental variables that you could need to consider, and we're going to be talking about in the country of Greece today. Now, excuse me, this information is unclassified, and I would like to say if you have any questions as I'm going through, please write them down. Hold all questions to the end, so we can get through this, and then I can answer everybody's questions at the very end. Um, OE, I already said it. It stands for operational environment. These variables are things we consider when we are preparing, especially in another country, because there's a lot of things to consider when we go to a whole other country. We already understand how U.S. is. Eight of the variables: political, military, economic, social, information, infrastructure, physical environment, and time. However, we're going to go over just four of them. First one's going to be information, um, and pretty much knowing and understanding like language, understanding their culture. Certain hand signs might not be acceptable over there that they are here. One hand sign that I noticed was it's not even a hand sign; it's a gesture, if anything. I saw two guys; they shook hands and they kissed each other on the cheek. Now, I know a lot of people that probably see that and be like, "What was that?" But over there, it's normal, right? So it's taking that into consideration because it could be taken very offensively by the way you react to it, right? Knowing, understanding the language. When I was over there in Greece, I started talking to people, learning the language of Greek, so I could communicate with people a lot better. And there was a lot of information out there that people would give to me because they're like, okay, here's this person, they're learning our language, or he's learning our language. And not only that, he's also learning like our culture in a sense, right? And the reason why I bring up culture because the next thing we're going to be talking about is the social variable of this, and culture comes right back up, so it kind of ties together. Religion and ethics. Um, Religion is very important because there was a day where we're kind of like walking around trying to talk to people, and like it was weird because on Sundays everything shuts down from 7 to 1300. Everything's closed. Restaurants, businesses, nothing's open because it's a day to, um, pretty much go to church. Go to church. And once again, like I said, the culture gets brought back up into this, and we talked a little bit about the culture, how that affects when you're in this country and you start learning more about their culture. They become more acceptable to talk to you. Next is political, which politics could be dangerous. I would say it's probably the best to just sit back and listen to what they have to say. It has to go on government, domestic issues, the population, international relationships. You're already from another country. Now you're in their country. So it's like these are things we're going to have to consider. Big thing is in Greece, do not talk about the Turkish. Don't bring them up. And it wasn't like hostility, but it was like, hey, the Turkish don't like us. Well, why? We don't know. That was the answer from one of the people I was talking to. They're like, we don't know why they don't like us, but they don't. So it's probably not a good idea to talk about them here in Greece. I was like, okay, all right, there's definitely some history behind this, so let's not dive into that. Those are things to consider, know about, and you don't want to go into it. You know what I'm saying? Next is military, and it's kind of like that whole thing I just brought about, like Turkish. Um, when we were there, and the reason why this got brought up was we had defended Europe 21, and the Turkish army was part of this operation that we were at. So when we were in Greece talking with these people, and they were like, "Hey, don't talk about the Turkish here." We're like, "Whoa, what's going on here, right?" And they told us we're not friendly with them, and they're not friendly with us. It was like, okay, that's too easy. So it's knowing those little bit of things of okay, you know, now I understand why the Greek soldiers there were acting a certain way because we were talking about this operation. Like operation's over, right? Everybody went home, but the Greek army didn't like it. But instead of just they didn't tell us about this, the population ended up telling us about this while we were out there talking with them. And then, that's when we started talking a little bit to the Greek army. It eased some tensions up because they're like, oh, okay, you know, it's like a be no do kind of situation. We knew, we did something about it, and we moved on from it. Um, yes, but military all around is very important to know. You don't want to, talk about the Turkish and Greece. Don't, because they got bad blood. They see us as very friendly. They do, but you know, military, our military does have a reputation to go around and you know, and civilians get drunk, stuff like that. Because we could definitely tell when we got to Greece, there was some animosity, but they started warming up to us and like, okay, that's when things started getting good. That's when things started smoothing over. Now, going to a quick recap of all of this, right? Like we talked about information, why information is so important, things that you need to know when you go into another person's territory, their country, learn about their culture, learn certain gestures are acceptable while other ones are not. Social, what are the social constructs that you could run into? Not everything's the same. So you need to learn these things. You need to learn about, okay, on these days, they're very religious, so they shut down everything. Okay, on these days, stuff like that. We it's going to be different, so you have to be willing to adapt to that indifference. Political politics, like I said, could be very dangerous to talk about. You don't want to bring up something that could easily start a hostile conversation. You don't want to because you're always going to be in the wrong because we wear this, right? And we're in their country, so that we're automatically going to be wrong. So learn to de-escalate a situation, right? By either not talking about it. That's a good way to do that. Don't talk about it at all. Don't even bring it up. And then military, you're there with the military. You want to make sure that you and that other military are getting along, but understand not everybody has the same friends and allies as you do. A friend to you could be an enemy to them. So it's good not to even probably bring it up unless they bring it up first. It's one of the situations where don't talk unless spoken to kind of situation. And yeah, exactly right. Um, these are and like I said before, a lot of these points they come together. There's a reason why we take these into consideration. They all come together. We all talk about them. So, excuse me. So they all coincide in many ways, right? Um, yes. And does anybody have any questions? No. Okay. Too easy. That concludes my brief. Thank you.